Well, good morning and welcome back to Cape Town once more. And of course, we are here for the Green Hydrogen Summit. And this is very important. It might sound very technical right off the bat, but of course, it's something that most South Africans should pay attention to. And I say most because some would simply not be interested, but in fact, we should be. And I said that we will tell you more about exactly what this is about and where it's taking us into the future, especially considering our energy woes in this country. But it's not just about South Africa. It is, of course, a worldwide problem and a worldwide phenomenon. And I'm joined right now by Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, who's the head of Investment and Infrastructure Office in the Presidency. Dr. Ramokgopa, good morning and thanks for being with us.
Morning, Sakina, and morning to the viewers at home.
It does seem a bit understated, but this is, of course, a very, very important summit for South Africa. And perhaps you can just start by explaining to our viewers why.
Yes, it's a significant moment in the life of the country, positioning ourselves as one of the preeminent leaders in the production of green hydrogen. There's a number of advantages why South Africa is in the driving seat. Firstly, is that we are sitting with that technology as a country. Sasol, as I speak to you, is producing hydrogen, but that hydrogen, the production is powered by coal and gas, so fossil fuels, and that's why it's called grey hydrogen. So really the intention is to transition to a stage where it is powered by renewables. So the point to be made there is that we are sitting with that technology, and that's called Fischer-Tropsch technology. And the second one is that we've got some of the highest irradiation levels in the country, especially the Northern Cape belt going into the Western Cape and going over the boundary into Namibia. So what that does is that it helps to generate, if you like, energy produced from the sun at high levels of efficiency. And of course, the third reason is because we've got the highest amount of real estate. Essentially, we've got abundant piece of land, especially in the Northern Cape where the irradiation levels are. So really, it's a mix of or a combination of factors that makes it possible for us to be the front runner in the green hydrogen production in the world. Of course, the technology is for the production, or the cost of production of green hydrogen is estimated to be 3 to 2 times higher than what currently is the case with the production of grey hydrogen. But we are convinced that the cost curve, with the maturity of technology, advancement in technology, the cost curve is going to come down. And in fact, our estimate is that in the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be cost parity between green and grey hydrogen. And but what sits in our advantage is that the Western and industrialized countries are prepared to pay a cost premium. So what it means is that if we start producing, as we anticipate in the next 2 to 3 years, our market is likely to be export market because they're prepared to pay for that.
If I may interject, just slow down slightly, Dr. Ramokgopa,
Yes,
because we don't want to lose the viewers on this one. So, if you listen to the conversations at Sharm el-Sheikh at COP27 recently, and of course President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the UK, the issue of green hydrogen seemed to have been foregrounded quite sufficiently. But you talk about all of the resources, you talk about the technology that we already have. In fact, it seems we have everything that is needed in order to give further impetus to this. So why then do we seek external funding for this particular venture?
Well, like I said, the issues around investments in the research to be able to bring down the cost curve, it's a considerable amount of financing. So it is important that we look to partner with those who are sitting with the pairs, those who are sitting with some degree of liquidity, to invest in the research that is associated with us finding some better solution, cost-efficient solutions of producing green hydrogen. I think that's the first part. And then the second part is that we are searching for markets. So as we're going to produce green hydrogen at the volumes that we anticipate, the domestic market is not sufficient to generate the kind of commercial interest and the returns that the market is looking for. So it's important.
Why not at the moment?
Because the cost curve
Because
is,
of the cost.
cost curve is high, so you can produce it cheaper using coal and gas. So why pay a premium when in fact there are cheaper options? But like I said, I mean, 64 countries in the globe account for over 80% of all the emissions in the globe. And these 64 countries are in the industrialized and developed north. And they have made a commitment, the nationally determined contribution. They've committed themselves to the net zero path, and some of them have codified them into legislation, like New Zealand, to say that we're committing to arrive at the net zero path by this time. So it is important that we look for those countries because they are the biggest emitters, they are the biggest economies for offtake, and they are prepared to pay the cost premium because they want to take the lead, demonstrate to the whole world that in fact they are committed to this green transition. So we see the export market going to play a significant role, and once the cost curve comes down as a result of investments, we'll be able to ensure that there's domestic consumption. But like I said, I mean, in any business, you're looking for bigger markets. So you satisfy the domestic appetite, and once that domestic appetite is satisfied, then you look for new frontiers, and that's why you look to export to other markets. It's just that the pyramid is inverted this time. So you're starting to look for the export market because the industrialized countries are prepared to pay that premium related to the cost curve.
I think that's a sound explanation. The question, however, is the sort of agreements that we are entering into at the moment. So the president's visit to the UK, do we know the sort of agreements that have been entered into? How many, agreements have been entered into, and also the framework for those? Do we have any details on that?
Oh yes, I think not necessarily the details. I think I just know the broad areas. I think the others is in the areas of health, research and innovation. We've been cooperating and collaborating with many partners across the globe, including the UK, when we went into the production and manufacturing of vaccines, and there are new, if you like, frontiers that are developing in that space. And that's why part of the delegation was Minister Joe Patla to look at those opportunities going forward. So the issues around science and innovation. And then there are issues, like I said, on the energy space. Green hydrogen was an important feature, a significant feature in the conversation because of its potential going into the future. But like I said, we are sitting with the technology. We think we know better than the rest of the world. Sasol has done this over a period of time. They've perfected it. They're an authority in the Fischer-Tropsch environment. So I don't think there's anyone that can beat Sasol, but you still need significant levels of investments into research and innovation. And really the intention is that you must attract the international players to come into the space and help. Of course, the patent still sits with you, but you need considerable amount of investments. And we hope that the net effect, the aggregate, is to the benefit of the South African economy.
That's my next question.
Yes.
Because fair enough in all that you've said, but did we actually get the best possible deals at this stage? Could we have sourced that sort of funding elsewhere? And also, you talk about 2 to 5 years for that cost curve to come down. That would then speak directly to the terms and conditions in these contracts, because if it's a 2 to 5 year term where we should start seeing that cost coming down, do those agreements reflect that? And also in terms of our policy position as a country, does that actually encompass everything that you've told me now, or is that at variance, as we've seen so many times as a country, with what you are saying to me now?
Well, one of the things that we're advocating for in the office, and we also make that submission to Cabinet, was that there must be a correlation between our investment interest and also issues around industrialization. I think there has to be a correlation. I mean, if you look at the fact that we are getting into bid window 5 with regards to renewable energy, and essentially the biggest input there is a solar panel for the production of renewable energy, and also wind along the 6,000 kilometers of coastline that we have. The inputs really are being produced from somewhere else in the world.
Why?
It's because there hasn't been that correlation between the requirement to industrialize in the country and also what the energy requirements are. I think what we're solutioning for was the reliability of energy production and generation, and that conversation was happening outside the bigger interest of reindustrializing the economy, putting people into jobs. And I guess that if you were to ask, they'll tell you that there's been some degree of agency needed for us to get the production capacity or generation capacity going. But I think the view I'm taking now is that don't decouple the two. It's important that they go together. So that at the conclusion of these bid windows, then you have a South African company or companies that are manufacturing, not assembling, but manufacturing solar panel, because once you manufacture, there's jobs. I mean, essentially it's beneficiation of your raw component. That's how you are going to get jobs going. And in fact, your secondary sectors are going to come up, that of manufacturing. And we know that the trend line suggests that over a period of time, they've been tapering down. So there has to be that correlation. And that's why now, with this green hydrogen, your biggest input, of course, is your renewable energy and the electrolyzers. So the electrolyzers are produced, the significant input in the production of electrolyzers is your platinum groups of metals. And we know as we sit here that 90% of known deposit of PGMs are between us and Zimbabwe. So you don't want a situation where we mine, so we extract, we exploit, and then we ship it out to some part of the world. They produce electrolyzers.
Which is generally what we do.
Which has been the case. And that part of the linkage is the conversation here, is the capacity for us to be able to produce the actual rods that will be significant to the process of electrolysis. So there should be correlation between your energy requirements, generation, and also industrialization. And by industrialization, then you are addressing the issues of jobs and also the growth of the South African economy and its diversification.
I tell you what, Dr. Ramokgopa, I am going to hound you. I'm going to hound you to a point where I'm going to hold you personally accountable to see that where there isn't synergy, we start to find it,
yes.
Especially from your portfolio perspective.
Yes.
But we have to leave it here for now. But very interesting. And you heard it there, South Africa. Did you know these solar panels that we are all now running out to buy? Well, none of that is really produced and manufactured in this country. So it's quite. That's what you said, didn't you, Ram?
Yes, we want to get to a stage where we manufacture the critical mass.
And there's no reason as to why it isn't happening in this country. But I'm going to hold Dr. Ramokgopa personally accountable for how we move forward from this stage on. But that's where we're going to leave it. Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa is Head of Investment and Infrastructure Office in the Presidency. And we'll bring you more here from the Hydrogen Summit in Cape Town at a later stage. But for now, it's back to the World Cup stories there in studio.